Third down and 20.
Moving on to wide receivers, we'll kick it off with it. I'll just run through everyone real quick. Jamar Chase on the Bengals, wide receiver 8. T. Higgins, wide receiver 17. Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 40. On Tate, wide receiver 134. Mike Thomas, not ranked. Marquise Brown on the Ravens, 58. Rashad Bateman, actually 35. Tylen Wallace, 82. Sammy Watkins, 112. Miles Boykin, 133. Devin Duvernay, 99. James Prochet, not ranked. The Browns, OBJ, wide receiver 44. Jarvis Landry, 52. Rashard Higgins, 98. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 83. Anthony Schwartz, 93. Kadero Hodge, not ranked. Then the Steelers, you got Juju, wide receiver 30, Chase Claypool, wide receiver 23, Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 24, James Washington, wide receiver 106, and Ray McLeod, not ranked. And I think where we got to start is the Steelers, again, because they basically have what I would consider is 3 wide receiver 2s. I know Juju is ranked a little bit lower than that, but you got 3 wide receiver 2s, and you got Big Ben ranked outside the top 40 quarterbacks. Something's got to give here. Well, like it can't both happen. That's why I have basically all of the Steelers wide receivers as overrated other than Juju, and I have Deontay Johnson as my most overrated. I don't know. Frank, you're the Steelers fan. There's 3 wide receivers that are all ranked basically the same. Who's the one that you're picking, and why are you picking that guy as the main wide receiver?
I just have to start this off. We did the NFC West last week, and I thought that entire division had underrated receivers. I look at the AFC North, and I see a division of overrated receivers. Even as a Steelers fan, I like Deontay Johnson. I loved him coming out of school. He just really hasn't improved on his issues. He hasn't really gotten better as a football player from the project that he was coming out. Juju Smith-Schuster's all right. Man, if I had to pick one, I'm going Chase Claypool because he legitimately has top-end potential. I like Chase Claypool. I just think the problem is that take the Browns out of this equation, the Browns and Tylen Wallace, I guess just the Browns and the Ravens, you take them out. Dude, I'm going to sell high on all these Bengals and Steelers receivers right now. I don't want to buy them. I think they're good. But like you said, they're glorified wide receiver 2s. I'd rather pay for a roster of Jarvis Landrys than pay for the Bengals and Steelers receivers right now.
Well, because here's the thing: when you glorify wide receiver 2, Claypool's already ranked wide receiver 23 here, and here's my issue and why I'm defending Claypool here especially. When we did Ayuk in the NFC West last week? What was Ayuk's ranking at? Like 17, 19, right?
Ayuk's his was 16 last week.
16.
Mm-hmm.
If Ayuk is 16, how Claypool at 23 is not that much worse. I would rather have Claypool than Ayuk. If you ask me. And he's that many spots lower.
I think
you
I'm
guys
with
would
Lounis.
all rather Ayuk.
I'd rather Claypool, Lounis.
I'd rather Claypool. Claypool's produced way more in a crowded receiver core, and even the weeks with the backup, he was still producing, and he has the build of a number 1 receiver. Like Ayuk, yeah, he had some more flashy plays, sure, but you got Debo. I don't know how much better than Debo he is. I'd give him the edge, but Debo's very talented as well. And then was it Kittle still there? I don't know. I really like Claypool, especially wide receiver 23. I think that's fair. I definitely don't think he's overrated at that spot. And if he is, then Ayuk to me is extremely overrated because I'd rather have Claypool than Ayuk.
Yeah, well, like you said, I think that Claypool of all these receivers on the Steelers is the best buy. Long term, I like his talent. I think he does have that alpha profile. Listen, I don't think that the Steelers receivers are going to be bad players. I think that they'll produce around what their ranking is. But I think that the problem with the Steelers receivers and a lot of receivers in the league is that I can get Jarvis Landry for half of the price. I can get Odell Beckham for
the price.
Yeah, less than half the price, who will probably put up essentially the same numbers. And then with that value that I have acquired from selling Deontay Johnson into Odell or Jarvis Landry, I can go out and get in this is super flex, first off, not regular leagues, but in super flex, I can then use those assets to go get quarterbacks and running backs and tight ends that will actually make a difference for me if I'm trying to win. That's the problem I have with these receivers.
Isn't it? I don't think Landry's giving you the production of Claypool or Deontay Johnson, and I think they're both only going to get better.
Let's move on to them because we kind of all have the Browns as our underrated guys.
No, they're extremely underrated.
Yeah, we have OBJ as wide receiver 44.
44.
We almost across the board all said that he's the most underrated wide receiver.
2 years ago, he was like top 10.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And then Jarvis Landry is wide receiver 52. Well, you gotta give him. He was on they didn't do well as the Browns 2 years ago, and then he was injured last year, so it's kind of hard to blame him. Really, I mean, I just think wide receiver 44, and he can actually be a legitimate wide receiver 1 contender is just that kind of price for that kind of production is crazy to me. I know that he's on the older side, but at the price you're buying him, which is
he's still one of the most talented receivers in the NFL.
Yeah,
talent-wise, he is.
Yeah, especially when you consider him with he's close to Julio Jones price, and he's a lot younger than not a lot younger, but he's certainly younger than Julio Jones by 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cheaper than Julio Jones, and he's on an offense I think will pass more than the Titans. The Browns will pass more than the Titans. I just feel like he's super underrated. I think Jarvis Landry super underrated. It's just the whole offense itself. We'll get into it in a minute, but I think the Browns are the most underrated here.
Here's exactly my argument in a nutshell. If you look at keep trade cut, Chase Claypool in a trade for Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, apparently the Chase Claypool side is winning by a 3rd round pick. I think that's the problem I have with the Steelers receivers is that consensus. Okay, yeah, Claypool is probably worth the most. Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson are still worth 1st round picks, it seems like, to a lot of people in the Dynasty community. Yet, dude, I could trade Chase Claypool into Odell, Jarvis Landry, or Jarvis Landry, Thielen, and another a Cole Beasley. And who would I rather have if I'm a competing team and I needed receivers? Odell, Jarvis Landry, and Cole Beasley, or one Chase Claypool? Dude, I think we all know that answer.
Yeah, if you need wide receivers.
If you need multiple wide receivers.
It's not going to be sexy, but guess what? I'll be winning freaking games. You can go have all the cool little young receivers you want, but I'll gladly have depth and points.
Well, okay.
Claypool is, 22, 23 years old?
I don't think Claypool is the best example ever, just because I do think that, of all the Steelers receivers, Claypool's the best one to have. But still, that's the argument I have for all young receivers. Because let's go. I'm going to skip ahead.
Let's go to the Bengals ones.
Yeah, go to the Bengals.
JT on this.
T. Higgins. I could sell T. Higgins into an entire position group of receivers that I would rather have. If I'm going to win games, if you're a rebuilding team, fine, go ahead, take T. Higgins because you want value and all that shit. I will sell T. Higgins right now for all the underrated receivers in the league and have a whole fucking squad. And bang, there's all my receivers. I just turned one dude, a 2nd round pick, into an entire receiving core.
Well, my only thing is, other than Jamar Chase, out of this class, I don't think T. Higgins is I'd rather have T. Higgins than the rest of this class, other than Jamar Chase. And I think T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are both capable of putting up multiple wide receiver 1 seasons. I think these are the cream of the crop guys. They're the alphas. They're the ones that are going to see. They're tied to a young quarterback who should be there for a long time. They're probably going to have to pass a lot.
Yeah, yep. And I was kind of going off JT's point. I think Joe Burrow is going to be one of those guys that pass for a ton of yards every year, assuming he's healthy. And T. Higgins, what more did you want to see his rookie season? As soon as he started getting the opportunity to play, he started going off. He was outproducing Tyler Boyd. He was playing really well toward the end of the season. Even once Joe Burrow got hurt, he still had productive weeks. I don't know. Obviously, he's not like a Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is just in a whole different stratosphere than any of those other rookies. But I don't know. That was a really successful rookie season. The wide receiver 17, I think, is pretty fair.
Yeah, but he's wide receiver 17. You got to pay top end price for him. To get T. Higgins for most owners, you have to pay what DJ Moore is probably worth. Like that wide receiver 12 price to really get T. Higgins off their hands.
And how different are they?
I'm not the biggest DJ Moore fan out there, but I would take DJ Moore easily over T. Higgins.
Listen,
I don't think T. Higgins is a bad player. It's just, dude, I'm not paying wide receiver 1 price for T. Higgins. Fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has DJ Moore and really wants to trade from Jake for T. Higgins, I wouldn't trade DJ Moore for T. Higgins. I wouldn't even. I would have to consider T. Higgins in a first for DJ Moore, and I don't even think I'd do that. I wouldn't do that.
That's a big.
DJ Moore. DJ Moore is close to my wide receiver. DJ Moore is close to my wide receiver 5 dynasty wise. We could get into a whole thing.
Listen, I like
break down
DJ
the
Moore,
NFC South.
Like, that's.
Not really. Well, look, you gotta dive deep into DJ Moore as a player.
JT, I've watched DJ Moore for like 8 years. I watched him for 4 years at Maryland. Like
he didn't play 4 years at Maryland, so that's a lie.
I know. That's why I
got him.
He was scouting him in high school.
Yeah. Thanks, Lounis.
I don't know, dude. There are 3 types of receivers. There are really top end receivers that are worth paying for and worth buying. There are overrated wide receiver 2 flex players, and then there's just underrated receivers that put up points but no one wants to pay for. T. Higgins, I think, is firmly in that overrated wide receiver 2. Dude, to be honest, I think that Cole Beasley is has just as good of a chance of putting up the same numbers that he does. It just won't be as sexy. And you guys can go ahead and laugh all you want. Go ahead. T. Higgins will score 30 more points. But, dude, I just saved a first-round pick and a half paying for Cole Beasley.
Probably saved more than that. Yeah. Well, that's probably what T. Higgins is worth around. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're kind of running low on time. Let's get into the Ravens and our last wide receivers, and then we'll go tight ends. I think Rashad Bateman is underrated. Jake thinks he's overrated. I've learned from this. Jake and I are basically split on most players in this division.
I'm with Jake now.
Rashad Bateman is wide receiver 35.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah,
it's a great thing.
You're going to want to reconsider.
It's a great thing.
No, I'm not talking about you. Disagreeing with you is always good. I'm saying
I'm talking. Yeah, see, you're disagreeing with me on something that we're agreeing on.
You got to be on the sides of the champs.
I was agreeing that you should reconsider being on the same side as Lounis. I just think Rashad Bateman, I hyped him up a little too high. A little bit of rookie fever was telling me he's like the next Devontae Adams. But I still think he's like. I still think Rashad, he's my wide receiver 2 out of this class. I'm staying firmly on that. I'm not rating.
Wide receiver 2?
Yeah, he is.
Crazy.
He's firmly. And I'll tell you what, if I knew more about Terrace Marshall and his injuries, because now like he's not really practicing with the Panthers right now because he's injured. If I knew more about it, I knew he'd be healthy, I'd have him as my wide receiver 3. But like he's not healthy, so he's not my wide receiver 3. But he's close. He's close. Terrace Marshall is closer to Rashad Bateman than I think Jalen Waddle is. That's just where, and Devontae Smith's way out there. All my hot takes aside, let's focus on the Ravens.
Yeah, he's closer to Bateman towards like the 4 or 5 ranking.
Bateman, I think, is underrated. Marquise Brown, wide receiver 58. We all
this is a crazy low ranking.
Yeah.
It's I don't even like him as a player.
Like I'm not even. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not even like a huge Hollywood guy, but 58. That's crazy.
It's just real low. 58's real low.
Especially after the end of the season he had, where like
he's finally starting to come on. And it's not like he's had like the best deep passer throwing to him. Like I don't know, man. That's crazy low.
Only other thing is Tylan Wallace, wide receiver 82. We all said it was underrated. Most of us had him as the backup wide receiver to own.
Dude, there's a ton of value in this offense at the receiver position because I do think that the Browns, the Ravens, even though they run the ball a lot, I do think that this is an offense that has top 10 potential in the league, and we've seen it. That'll transition to points. It's just you look at it like Rashad Bateman. I'm not the biggest Rashad Bateman guy ever, but you look at it for the talent that you're paying for. I mean, you're getting Rashad Bateman under Juju, Deontay, and Claypool. You're getting him under all these receivers. Like, you're paying a closer price to Tyler Boyd than you are to T. Higgins, and he was just a first-round pick. So I think that Rashad Bateman, I've switched him from overrated to underrated. Same thing with like
nice.
Tylan Wallace and whatnot.